We have the shot lined up on the waterfall right behind us on the Big Thompson River. It's part of an old head dam. It's eroded over the years, the many floods that we've had, but I'm trying to get it so that we can get that silky look on the water. As you can see, we're at 100 ISO, f22 1/15 of a second, which isn't quite enough. So what we're going to have to do in order to correct that is use the K&F Concepts ND filter. Between 1 second or so, we're close to where we want exposure-wise. The sun keeps shifting and changing, but that means that'll... Wait a second. Doesn't everyone do videos on waterfalls and landscape when they talk about ND filters? We need to get a model here. That's right, you guys. Neutral density filters are not just for landscape and waterfall photography. We're out here with Ariana, who's wearing the same outfit that's on this shirt. You can pick up this shirt in the link down in my description. But why would you use a neutral density filter for portrait photography? Before we get into that, I need to discuss what a neutral density filter actually does, and we're gonna do that back in the studio. Hey, what's up, you guys? Back from the shoot so soon? No. I know exactly what's going on. You wanna know a little bit about ND filters before we jump into the shoot itself. Now, this is going to be multi-parts. I'm not gonna drone on and then send you over to the photo shoot with the A7 III. Instead, we're gonna break this down into a couple of different parts with a little bit of B-roll of me and Ari's photography session that we had earlier today. Now this is the K&F Concepts ND2 to ND400 filter. Now this one right here is an 82mm size. It retails for about $90 to $100 on their website, depending on what sales they're doing. But the basics of an ND filter are pretty simple. It's a filter that you screw onto the front of your camera, and we'll do one of these little clips all about that. So as you can see, Samyang 85mm f1.4. Now this Samyang 84mm f1.4 is a 77mm. You can check it right on there on the bottom of the lens. Sometimes they are printed right in the front of the lens. It just depends on what company. Now this is 77, so we're gonna have to take our little step down ring. We screw it right on the front here, like that. And then we take our ND filter, or whatever filter we're using, and that just goes right on top. Screws right on, just like so. And that is how you're able to place the ND filter on any lens, essentially. But that's how you install it. That's the easiest way to go about it. Actually, what we're gonna do, as you can see, we're at 204,000 ISO, but just by turning this, we're able to darken it and lighten it just by turning the ND filter from maximum to minimum. That allows you to stop down your camera, or basically it allows you to lower the amount of light coming into your sensor. The style, the actual style of what people are interested in currently is outdoor photography. You don't get to really control the lighting in outdoor photography as much as you would be able to in a studio. As you can see today, we are on a very bright, sunny day. Now, generally, I would curse this because that means we would not be able to use the Samyang 85mm f1.4 on the Sony A7 III that we're using today to its full potential at that f1.4 for amazing bokeh. And if you're interested in what bokeh is, check out the link right up there. Now with a neutral density filter, we're actually stopping down that light. So that means we can use f1.4 with that camera. So let's jump into some POV photography with Ariana over here. Now, the very first skit in this video was the very beginning when I said, aren't all ND filter videos done about waterfalls and landscapes? And the reason for that is if you're taking waterfall photography or you're taking landscape photography, you don't have any control of the lighting, essentially. And I think I said that before we jumped over here to the studio. But you don't have a lot of control of the lighting. And because of that, and because of the abilities of consumer cameras, so, you know, the Nikon D5100, the Nikon D5300, the Canon, what is it now, the T7 Rebel, all of those have limited capabilities. Really, you can bring your ISO down to about 100, and we've talked about ISO in this video up here, or your shutter speed tops out at about 1/4000th of a second. Now, professional cameras will do 1/8000th of a second. The Sony a7 III that we're taking photos of Ariana with right now will actually go down to 25 ISO, and it has a maximum shutter speed of like 1/8000th of a second, which allows you to get more light in. But even then, on a bright sunny day, if you are using, you know, your full potential of your portrait lens, f1.2, f1.4, f1.8, and I'll link what that is all about right up there, and f-stops, you're gonna have overblown images. And some of the images we captured, even with this filter, were a little bit overblown, but I did that on purpose artistically. I turned this to the minimum and I overexposed them a little bit to give her more of a glowing effect, and you'll see those later on in this video. But this allows you to bring your stops down. Now, I look at it the same way I look at ISO. The shutter speed is not changing, so you don't have to worry about increasing movement. The aperture isn't changing, so you don't have to worry about your, you know, your depth of field or your focusing field quite as much. This, think of as removing ISO. So if we're at 100 ISO on a standard camera like the D5100, and we attach this, it takes us 3 stops down. So that would be ISO 50, ISO 25, ISO 12.5. So just using this on the medium setting would bring you to the equivalent of ISO about 12.5. So you might now be wondering, well, Nick, $90 to $100 per filter is pretty expensive. What if I have multiple lenses that are of multiple sizes? And that is where I tell you why I got an 82mm filter size. They go all the way down to 52 and possibly even 40mm. This is the 82. And the reason for that is because the Sigma 10 to 20mm ultra wide angle lens that I have, and I have a review for it that I'll link right up there, that lens has an 82mm diameter. It also happens to be the largest diameter lens that I own, so I want to make sure that this will fit on that lens. So you might be thinking, well, then how did you use it on that Sangyang 85mm that's only 77mm? Or how would you use it on your Yongnuo 50mm that is a 58mm? And the answer to that is quite simple. K&F Concept also makes these step-down rings. And literally each one of these rings is an individual ring that will step it all the way down. So 52mm here, that will fit on the Canon Rebel Yongnuo 50mm lens all the way up to this 77. So this is 82 down to 77, which means for the entire range of my lenses that I own, I am capable of putting that one filter on. So it's important to think of it in a perspective of, if you are on a budget, which is what we talk about a lot on this channel, how can I maximize my budget to ensure that I'm able to use this with all of my lenses? And the answer to that is to buy the largest ring diameter, or the 82mm in my case, in order to fit the widest range and these step-down rings. Now, these step-down rings are about $25 on Amazon. So $25 on Amazon plus $100 for the filter, that's $125. You now have an ND filter that will fit the entire range of your lenses. instead of, you know, let's say the 6 different lenses that I use primarily. That's almost $600 invested in filters for each one to have its own individual one. And these will actually not affect the images that you're taking. So we're gonna jump back to me and Ariana at the park. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video on ND filters for portrait photography. It was a lot of fun to go out with Ariana. I'm having a lot of fun with this Sony a7 III. It's a great camera so far from me testing it. We are going to put it up against the Canon before I decide which one I am going to purchase, but I figured I'd use it for these kind of videos while we have it in our possession. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget hit the notification button and share this video if you enjoyed it. We are so close to 1,500 subscribers and me giving away a metal print of my waterfall photo, which I will share right here. And at 5,000 subscribers, I'm giving away a Nikon D50-100 with a Yongnuo 50mm f1.8 prime lens. So you guys have a great one, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye.